And we're here now, finally live, with several of our friends, including one new one.
Sorry.
Damn.
I was
You
okay.
alright?
Sorry. It was the bit.
Coronavirus.
All right. And so, okay, now that I can full screen this. Okay. So there is Kanye now, and then I just need to stick him right here. Now he's just like peeking out from the corner over there. All right, and you may notice that we have a new face here. We've got ourselves a new friend named Nick. Go ahead and
how's it going,
introduce
guys?
yourself.
So yeah, my name is Nick. I go by NickyD typically online. I am a singer, rapper, songwriter, a voice actor, traditional artist, former fanfic author, and a bunch of other things, I guess you could say. Happy to be here.
Very, very cool. I got to meet Nick through a project that I am doing. Usually I don't like to do a lot of announcements until we're getting close to release. But Nick is going to be a voice of a character for the Coffee Talk voiceover project. So you'll be hearing more of him soon. But that is how we got to know each other. And so we'll be able to hear a little bit of his performance here. So thank you for joining us. It is going to be pretty nice to collaborate in a less professional scene in this way. So yeah, I was just asking Nick, or I was going to ask Nick, but then I realized you weren't at the computer. How well are you familiar with the Type Moon franchises like Face 8 Night, Ski Hime, and whatnot?
None at all. This is the first time I'm hearing of this right now.
So, Witch on the Holy Night is part of that huge universe that they do. And this is supposed to be like a backstory to a fairly popular character in the universe. So this story stars. Oh, that's right. I need to change. Thank you, Trulu. I need to change it. It was Muse Dash earlier. Hold on. But yes, this game follows the story of a girl named Awazaki Aoko. And she is, as the game would suggest, a witch. But it's probably more accurate to call her a mage at this point. In the universe, they have a very specific terminology that they use, and a mage is someone that can use magical circuits that are imprinted in their bodies. And that is like their heritage. It's passed down through the family line. So Aoko was the chosen one in her family. This music is way too intense. I need to bring it down a notch. So she's trying to make a name for herself, trying to prove her worth and whatnot. And in this story, she is rooming with a fellow witch named Alice, who is another descendant of a mage family. But she is much stronger, a lot more well-versed, whereas Aoko is just barely trying to fit in. She's also kind of leading a double life. The whole mage society is a huge secret from normal society, so she has to kind of keep that in line. Now, the problem is that she has been kind of under attack by an unknown witch in this story. And she and Alice have been trying to neutralize the threat, but this other character, Sojiro, happened to see it. And so she goes in this really weird roundabout way of trying to kill him, only to be like saved by him and then saving him. Even she is like, yeah, this is kind of backwards, whatever. You can tell that there's a little bit of conflicting emotions. So we're at the part of the story now where she just survived another attack from the unknown witch, but Alice is there and she's really pissed off because she was promised by Aoko that she would kill Sojiro because protecting their secret as mages is very important. So understandably, she's like, no, we are going to settle this right now. Because even though they were roommates, it was more like kind of a truce for now sort of thing, because eventually they will have to go against each other. And so Alice figured, Now this is the time.
Doesn't matter how much takeout you've shared together.
And they were roommates.
They were roommates. So that's the gist of it. There's so much that I can go through, but I have a little bit of the VODs. I'm missing the first part. I think I will eventually go back to it eventually. But if that is the story that you're interested in, especially after we do this, that is something that you can listen to at the very least, because now it can kind of be like an audiobook, right? So there's that. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So for this bit, Kanye, if you could do the narration, Eryn, if you could be Aoko, and then Nick, I will have you be Sojiro. Sojiro is a guy who used to live in the mountains, so he is completely and utterly oblivious to all city life. And has
cool.
no
Very naive
idea.
boy, but also very determined boy.
Very.
Okay.
So let me
I
go
dig,
ahead.
I dig.
Go ahead and share the screen so that you guys don't have to focus on Twitch to see it. So there's
Thank you,
that.
fellas.
So yeah,
Yeah, we don't have to
naive,
switch delay.
sincere, a little dim-witted, but mostly because he just doesn't understand like normal societal norms.
Hmm.
Sounds just
Also,
like me.
this is a slight period piece, right? This is like 80s, 90s.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Okay, so we will go ahead and continue from where we last started. So go ahead, Kanye, if you could.
They strategized for 10 minutes. After deliberating, I hate English. Did you know that, guys? After deliberating the Snark's true form and figuring out a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods in acceptance of their roles.
We'll be splitting up now. Just don't make it a repeat of the blender in the House of Mirrors. You're the crux of this operation. If you bungle the start even a little, there's no coming back from this one.
Though she jabbed him for his previous failure as a decoy, her voice was bright. Aoko's original vigor has returned to her at Sojiro's discovery of the truth. Meanwhile, Sojiro was also getting serious in his own way. He took Aoko's warning to heart.
Is this her or me?
This is still Aoko.
Okay.
Good. But remember that our positions are reversed this time. If we fail, I'm not the one who's going to die, you are. I won't be there to clean up your mess, so watch your step.
I know. After all this, I regret not taking your advice earlier.
Oh.
I'll be careful.
This
I botched that.
novel did need one more editing pass. We've all determined.
Yeah, one thing that we've determined from this game, like the story and the writing genuinely is really good, but then there's just small hiccups here that just
The
really throws
small
you off.
grammatical errors here and there, or weird turns of phrase.
Well, not everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll take it in stride, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sojiro nodded, telling her to leave it to him. Though he made it sound like he was holding a grudge, it seemed to him to be the only way of showing her his resolve. Ako let out a sigh of defeat. Once more, she couldn't figure him out.
Seriously, I can't tell if you're a big idiot or a big hero. Whichever one it is, I'm counting on you. Don't let me down.
She had wanted to say that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her. Ako turned away from Sojiro and began to run. I'm here. She had begun to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all.
All right. So, little intermission. Now we're onwards to. Oh, right. Go ahead.
And so ended the intermission. The young cast members were handed their new lines. Whatever happened next, the Night of Witches had, at long last, entered its climax.
Dun dun dun.
I saw this one meme on Twitter where it was just a picture of Alko. She's like, "Joke's on you! I'm the witch of the Holy Night." Anyway, let's have you, Eryn, go ahead and voice Alice, and then Nick, if you could do the narration this time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
They split up. You're sure?
She was filled with a foreboding at the Robbins report. She was filled with foreboding at the Robbins report. Apparently, they had gone in opposite directions. Park's residents had set off after the boy witness, and it would take them mere minutes to capture him. So the bird said,
What do you mean? Is it actually him they're following? Not Alko in disguise?
Robin flapped its wings, chirping away any doubt. It had seen them with its own 2 eyes. Akko was heading for the plaza, while the cocky brat was making a run for the roller coaster.
Are you saying that Alko abandoned him? It sounds a little too good to be true. Is Dumpty still on his tail?
The robin nodded enthusiastically. It didn't know about the other birds, but with its superior night vision, it had seen that sucker clearly because he had moved to a high point.
You know what? I was aiming for British because Nancy was doing British last time, but I don't think I can do it. I'm just going to go back to normal.
Fair.
F it, we ball.
And Dumpty?
He said to let him sing to
Oh, this is
the
still Alice.
very end.
Oh, yeah.
He said to let him sing to the very end? That he may never get the chance again to do so for a fool this asinine?
Scratch Dumpty was a ticking time bomb that would drop and detonate the moment its target averted its gaze. That is, as long as his target continued to observe him. In a way, he was a gentlemanly ploy kickshaw, though Alice wished he would forego such niceties when in battle.
Mm-hmm.
Let him have his fun. Keeping an eye on Dumpty won't save the boy anyway. Once the poem on his surface is complete, the door will open. No matter how far he runs, Dumpty will end him for us.
Until the park, or rather the snark, was destroyed, Sojoria would not be able to escape. Which meant the larger concern was Akko. Akko had promised to protect the boy, which begged the question, where was she running to?
As long as we stay here, we can't track Alko.
Alice looked out over the park, ignoring the robin's attempt to get her attention with its plumage. Flat Snark had nearly reached its full gaze. It was a different breed of beast compared to the other cheap ploys. To her, it was one of her 3 most irreplaceable and precious familiars.
Yes, she's all yours, Snark. Don't hold back until Alko is brought to her knees.
Alice remained where she was. With the same historical merit as the troll under the bridge and the prison-clawed reptile, Flat Snark was one of Alice's ultimate ploys. She was placing her trust in its reputation and ability.
But don't forget, this is a game. When the contest is over, return to me.
The drifting fog ignored its master's words. It was one thing that Alice had misread. Flat Snark was a king, even among the other ploys of terrible, vulgar antics. Death to the defeated, gruesome tragedy to the vanquished. It found no pleasure unless it brought about dramatic retenuation of life and wealth. Fog billowed like wicked laughter. After all, only a king had the right to decide the fate of the vanquished, and the Snark's greed could not be contained.
All good.
Thus, it hadn't even the slightest intent to play fair, despite its master's orders.
Oh my god, was I right? Is it the clouds?
One way to find out. All right, next bit. Eryn, if you could do the narration, and Kanye, you'll be Sojiro this time around.
Okay. Over 100 feet high. One careful step at a time, the figure made its way gingerly up the track, which stretched into the heart of the amusement park. He stayed his beating chest and the pounding of his breath. Every tiny movement, even tiny movements were an obstacle to his progress. Amazingly, the one making this pale-faced advance higher and higher was Sojiro Shizuki. Far below, he saw that a horde of bread creatures had congregated by the roller coaster platform. As they bustled this way and that, their numbers continued to increase by the minute, seemingly cheering on Sojiro with raised arms as he made his ascent. Or rather, they jeered as if beckoning him to come down.
Well, at least they don't like heights.
Of course, neither did Sojiro, but his current state was the lesser of the two evils. The only thing that followed him now was the floating egg. After heaving a huge sigh, Sojiro bent forward a bit and climbed the track that inclined towards the heavens. 150 feet now. If this were a skyscraper, he would be on the 16th floor. A strong gust of wind whipped through his hair. Humans had an instinctual fear of heights. In particular, a place like this, which called forth visions of falling to one's death, would cause a person's knees to tremble against their will. It was an instinct that forewarned death, urging its master to return to the safety of the ground. It was a reasonable reaction. Climbing the roller coaster tracks went beyond funny stories and into the realm of fantasy. The strong winds and change in air pressure were a hindrance. His instincts screamed at him to stop, causing his limbs to go numb, his muscles to go limp, and his mind to race. Even if he had been tied to a lifeline, a mere 15 feet of climbing would still have caused his thoughts to freeze out of sheer terror. And it would only get worse from here, exponentially so. Every foot forward increased the load on both his mind and his body by another degree.
I can do this. Just a little bit more to the top.
The burden on his mind notwithstanding, he carefully measured the toll on his body with every step. His legs, which had carried him running this far, threatened to buckle the moment he let down his guard. This fatigue was likely why Aoko had stressed that Sojiro's role was more dangerous than hers.
Wait, would Haosaki have been so worried if I wasn't tired?
Sojiro laughed as he stared at the floating egg. He reflected on the course of events that had led to this absurd situation. Not even 10 minutes ago, They had been engaged in conversation.
Okay. Since we know what...
I think this is actually Aoko.
I think it is, yeah.
So let's change it up. We'll do something interesting. Nick, if you can be Aoko. And then
God, here
Eryn,
we
you
go.
be Sojiro. And I'll go
Okay.
ahead and do the narration.
All right.
Okay, here's the challenge. Okay. Since we know what form it's taken, we need to talk about how we're going to destroy it.
Sojiro felt a shudder travel down his spine at Aoko's smug grin. In hindsight, Aoko had been more happy than at this point to make him do something absurd.
How are we going to destroy it? Can you just... Or can't you just...
Sojiro wondered out loud. From what he'd seen, Aoko had enough firepower to tear clean through the fence. He'd refrained from speculating about Flatsnark's true form because he felt there was nothing they could do about it, even if they knew. But that had changed. For Aoko, the impossible was quite literally within her grasp.
It won't be that easy. By my estimate, I wouldn't get within 150 feet of that thing.
Despair filled Sojiro's eyes. Aoko lifted a hand to her long hair and, with a magically charged fingertip, clipped a clean tuft of it.
But we can make up the difference with some elbow grease. Okay, get to the highest place you can. When the time is right, I'll give you a sign. Just toss this into the air. That's all you need to do.
But based on where Aoko pointed her gaze, she did not really mean to leave it up to Sojiro to pick the highest place he could find. She was staring conspicuously at one of the amusement park's two main attractions, the roller coaster.
So, in other words,
This is actually
you're saying.
Sojiro.
Oh wait.
Oh, yeah, it that makes sense.
Yep.
So, in other words, you're saying we split up, then you want me to run away from the monsters chasing me and escape to somewhere high, right?
Exactly. And hey, wouldn't you know it, tracks of that winding roller coaster are perfect.
There were two demons in this park. Her smile made even Sojiro want to respond that it was far from perfect.
Far be it for me to question your motives here, but you're not secretly working with that girl to kill me, are you?
Now. Wasn't it you who said it was okay if I was the one who killed you?
It's not nice to twist other people's words.
Sojiro hung his head. This was not sane. If he did as she said, he would die from exhaustion before Kitsy even had a chance to eat him.
Is this one me?
I think
I think it is me.
This is Aoko.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm not a monster. Hey, look at me! I'll cast a charm on you.
It was the lightest of touches, close enough for their breath and skin to come into contact.
Oh. Oh. Saki.
Zaki. Oh.
He finished with a hushed voice. For one of them, this was a rather mundane magecraft. For the other, it was a head-spinning, intimate ambush. Just read the text at the top over here.
Alright, E-lights? And, wow, I cannot, I think I need glasses. What the?
Oh, you can read the bottom text then. It's either one works, honestly.
Oh wait, hold on, I can read it better now.
Okay.
Be light and frail, nimble and fast. Tick tock, tick tock. There's no time to waste.
Words that could not be produced by a normal larynx, carrying a peculiar weight to them, reverberated against his eardrums. If words were given colors, these would have been the color of her name, blue. Sojiro's exhausted body and burning blood gently cooled.
Fly, swim, run. Tick tock, tick tock. Sound the alarm. The star is always in the northern sky, no matter where you go.
In reality, it took but a few seconds, but the sudden contact had felt a little longer.
Mesmerized successful, I think. This is the first time I've actually felt it take. I guess all those lectures from Alice paid off.
A very merry Awako stood aside a very confused Sojiro. After he asked what the heck had occurred, she responded.
It's an elementary suggestion. I temporarily erased your sense of fear, so you should be able to climb up there no problem. Biggest thing standing in your way is your nerves, right? If you don't feel fear, then no matter how high you climb, it's no different from walking a balance beam.
He seemed to get it. It actually all sounded like Greek to Sojiro, but he accepted it as an explanation for her strange actions. Alright, we'll switch it up again. Nick, you'll be Sojiro, and Kanye will have you narrate.
Alright.
Finally! I made it!
He had arrived at the summit of the track. From nearly 200 feet high, Sojiro had a bird's-eye view of the entire amusement park. He was able to spot Ako's figure right away. In the plaza not so far from here, she seemed to be occupied with something conspicuous. Her surroundings lay still. The bread men were still busy trying to figure out how to reach Sojiro by trial and error from the roller coaster's entrance. They were over 300 feet away now.
No wonder I'm drenched in sweat. Look how much ground I've covered.
Strong winter gales quickly dried the sweat from his brow, but he was drenched underneath his shirt. This much sweat was worth at least half a mile run, not to mention all the scares he had experienced throughout the night.
Okay. Now all I have to do is wait for the signal.
He felt a wave of relief. But not at the thought of Alco destroying the Snark in this nightmarish park. He was simply happy that he could repay a bit of his debt from the House of Mirrors.
Destroying the nightmarish snark in the park in the dark.
A
Bars.
blue bullet rose from the plaza where Alco was located.
That's the signal.
Soldier stood up atop of the tracks, pulled out a pouch he had stowed in his pocket and tossed it forward. Without any regard for his questionable footing, he gave it a mighty overarm pitch. The small pouch drew a parabolic curve in Alco's direction, quickly becoming united in midair.
Untied.
Untied in midair. Inside the bag was a lock of her hair and a small stone weight.
Just throw it with the wind from somewhere high up. Now, oh wait, no, isn't this
This is
Anko's line?
Mm-hmm.
Just throw it with the wind from somewhere high up. I'll take it from there.
Alco had said, but it was Sojiro's effort that set the plan in motion. The tuft of hair remained airborne, drifting as if watching over its owner. Sojiro's job was done. He remained concerned about the egg hovering over him, but there was nothing he could do about it. Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief and leaned forward to watch the rest of the plan unfold. But then...
Hmm?
In the corner of his eye, he thought he had spotted something familiar approaching Alka.
All right, we'll keep the same cast.
Route set. Direct current crests, first layer. Second layer. Third layer, reserved. Magical energy supply fixed to greater source. Flow, check. Angle, check. Formula stability, good enough.
The pattern began to carve itself into the brick street. The casting of an unprecedented incantation with unprecedented range. Keeping the rising tension contained within her crest, the fledgling mage snapped her fingers.
Tour plan. Starmine.
She kneeled at the center of the formula and raised her head to the night sky. Not even a glimpse of the
Transmogrified.
transmogrified fantasyland around her entered her vision now. Only one thing, one untouchable thing, was reflected in her blue eyes.
This is Sojiro.
Oh, okay. So, this has been on my mind for a while now.
This is how their conversation started a few minutes prior. Sojiro began with a simple statement of fact. In truth, it was really the simplest of discrepancies. Any difference between the reality of an hour ago and the illusion of the present was both
Infinitesimal.
infinitesimal and infinite.
I thought maybe I didn't know what I was looking at because of the clouds.
It was hiding in plain sight. Too impossible to be real, too outlandish to be here. In this amusement park where every...
Paradigm.
Thank you. I had to swallow something. Where every paradigm had shifted, something was brazenly flaunting its normalcy.
Tonight is supposed to be a new moon. That's okay.
Oh. Yeah. Come to think of it, that's actually what you started as.
The distance from the Earth to the Moon was 2,380... 200,000... Wait, yeah. 200,000...
A lot of miles.
38,900 miles.
It was
Jesus.
pretty far!
If it was truly identical to the actual moon, then this monster indeed lived up to its eerie reputation. Eerie. At a distance that vast, there would have been no need to hide. It could have flown its true form for all to see. But if it had to hide its true form, that meant it was vulnerable. The monster's camouflage implied that it sat within the reach of human hands.
At best, my max range is 650 yards or so.
At this point, it was time to give it all she had. Drawing on the energy surging through the park, she extended her firing arm. A blue firework launched into the air. Looking up at her hair and dancing in the wind above, Alka reached out her right hand as if to catch the night sky. A mage's own body made for the perfect catalyst. And for a female mage, the hair she had grown out over many years made for a particularly valuable and powerful source of fuel. To use it, all she had to do was apply her will. She locked the fingers on both her hands and together and shouted,
Deploy third layer! All formulae commence linked activation!
she hurled forth a clear challenge to bind the moon to herself. The mist began to whirl about in the vortex. The monster high above bore its fangs at the sight of the blue spell that appeared midair.
This
Did you
is-
figure it out?
Yeah. This is Alice. I'll go ahead.
Oh.
Go for Alice.
By the time Alice had noticed a change, the hostility between Alco and the Snark was palpable.
Very well. This round goes to Alco. Return immediately. Perhaps removing the rain clouds was too obvious a hint, but I suppose one can't win them. A flat snark?
Fall continued to thinking with no sign of abating. The moon that floated in the night sky could not pardon such an insolent mage. As if the Lord of the Night would bow down to such impudence. There was no staying its wrath at a challenge so flagrant.
Snark!
The robin swooped in to give its report, but Alice waved it away. Her gaze was fixed on the transforming golden moon. Her calls of strength did not reach it. This fairy tale monster was beholden to nobody, and it would have no qualms unleashing its vast might upon its puny prey. The core of her magic bullet howled. The magic circuits within her body spun. Aoko fed the magical energy, scorching her nerves with imaginary flame. She was linked to the formula inscribed on the ground. The spell was read and executed the same as it always was, but its output was beyond reckoning. With this much firepower, even this mundane process would invite injury upon its caster. It was enough to burn up the nerves that were acting as the barrel.
I can do this!
The imaginary heat had reached a terrifying temperature. Alco trembled at this endless feeling, but would have to grin and bear it, lest their efforts had come to naught. Alco could no longer move. When she learned the Snark's true form from Sojiro, she gave up on any superiority a movable turret offered, instead opting to become a stationary cannon. That was the only way she could reach it. It was impossible to hunt a Snark unless she anchored her crest at this location and angle. At the same time, this action revealed that she was out of options. Once the fuse was lit, she would have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Ako took a deep breath. This was the way she wanted it. Her preparations were complete. She would be able to deliver this maelstrom of magical energy directly to the moon like a rocket payload. The third mid-air layer served as a cannon's muzzle and sight. It would fire the magical energy once it reached
Criticality?
criticality. Okay. It allowed Alka to adjust the angle of fire.
I don't think I really hear that word being used often.
Yeah,
So.
I don't think
it's
I've ever heard that either.
Yeah.
like the second time I've ever seen that word. First time was when I read this like years ago.
Fuck.
The moon became warped within her scope. As Alko charged her magical energy, the ploy displayed its golden form as if to mock her. Come, worship the heavens, powerless.
Scion.
Scion? Okay. Powerless scion of an innocent bloodline. For there was a point among the otherworldly sky, a mystical visage
Obfuscated.
obfuscated by jade mist and azure clouds. I've heard these words before, but I've never seen them spelled out.
Right.
Very fair.
Called the greatest treasure known to the world of magecraft, a rarity more valuable than the entire kingdom. Crown Phantasma. Domain expansion.
That's it. That's Flat Snark.
Set apart from the first, the world's greatest fabrication.
Not yet. Just need a little more time.
Her instinct screamed at her to delay no further. This fairy tale monster was the greatest of its kind, and it was about to expose its true form. Its open hostility made it clear that it was ready to counterattack.
I can't move. Not with an incantation this long. If it attacks before me, it's all over.
She had to shoot it down first. Magical energy was at 80%. The formula was operating normally. All that was left was to pull the trigger. But the calm voice inside her head asked if that was really okay. She had one shot at this. There was no going back. It was a battle of precision with no room for miscalculations. Even a tenth of a second of hesitation would tip the scales. Was she ready for the pain? Was she ready to deal with the fallout if she missed? Could she really even take down the moon with such a tiny bullet in the first place?
Enough. Shoot first. Ask questions later.
Her eyes, fixed upon the moon, were filled with determination. She knew that the moment she fired, the intense recoil would overwhelm her entire body. Still, she shouted.
Bring it on! I'm gonna send this thing spinning with all I've got!
With every ounce of spirit she possessed, she fired her ultra-long-range projectile into the sky. The third layer embraced the magical bullet fired from the surface of the earth. The crest, an extension of Alco's self, unleashed a light to pierce the moon. However, an enormous blue canopy pulverized the beam. It returned the ether, that 3,000 degree flame, to nothing as it came in contact with the bullet. The recoil of the grand magecraft literally boiled her blood. Her body couldn't handle it. Her heart stopped. Her brain went numb from the pain and impact. Her nerves petrified from end to end.
Yeah.
Putrefied from end to end. But her magic crest revived them all by force.
Ice! It was blocked by ice!
Even though her vision had gone white, she could still see it. Swallowing the blood in her mouth, Alco looked up with a scowl. And there it was. An enormous shield of ice and sneering, deformed skull.
Did I fire too late? Did I fire too early? Should I have shot before it made that shield? Was it too reckless to shoot it head on? Who cares?
Yeah, it's Alco.
First layer, second layer, reactivate! Hurry!
There was no time to think or hesitate. Magical energy throughout the park began to gather. Alco knelt. Across from the tyrannical face of the moon.
Intuited?
Okay, I was like, I'm thinking of initiated. There's no A there.
That's what I thought too.
She intuited that the ice had yet to fully form. Flat Snark still hadn't reached his full strength. Which was exactly why.
Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it!
By accelerating the spell, Akko damaged her own body. The burden of linking the formula to the snark caused intense pain. All she could do was grit her teeth and endure it. All because...
That ice is tougher than my best shot.
Alright, let's switch it up. Nick, if I could have you do the narration. And
Alright,
we'll keep Eryn be our uncle for now.
Okay.
I could have gotten a read of their relative strengths. Even if its volume of magical energy was identical, Snark's form, its mystic skill was in a different league. Akko could charge her energy to her absolute limit, and that would barely make a dent in that ice wall. Meanwhile, there's nothing she can do to prevent her own annihilation of Snark gathered as much energy as it could.
And before that happens,
She loaded her next shot. She issued orders to the floating third layer. Ignoring the toll on her body, she began to accelerate the first layer formula. The role of her right hand's single layer was to absorb and store surrounding magical energy. The thick fog that drifted through the park was an ancient ether spewed out by Flat Snark's own body. But Akko poured into her formula. Akko's body, which had integrated with the formula, took on an amount of magical energy that far surpassed its maximum capacity. It seethed with agony. Or rather, it trembled in delight. For a mage, magical energy was a propellant to reach the realm of mystics. The expansion of internal time. The liquefaction of the self. The release from the physical. They were all what one might call a near-death experience. On the Pierce? What?
Precipice.
Precipice, thank you. On the precipice of what lay beyond, Akko stood firm and faced reality. Still, reality had come to break her will. The gap between them was pain to any observer. The gun barrel named Akko Ozakai had not a chance to chip away at that lump of ice. She accelerated the spell further. The skull grinned. The ice was no shield. It was a hammer to crush mages who did not know their place. The moon laughed as it prepared to crush not just Akko, but the boy atop of the roller coaster, as well as the park in its entirety.
so what if it hurts?
Her circuits were on the verge of going critical. Her body had been charged with a scorching power supply from her fingertips to her eyeballs. She would see the bullet fired. She would arrange the Magecraft formula as quickly as her nerve's transmission speed would allow. Single attack was not enough. There was no way to shoot it from its flank. Which meant there was only one solution.
Alternate selector.
Third layer began to transform. It switched from direct to alternating current. The spell's supposed to the spell's supposed strong point was its ability to adjust its trajectory mid-flight. But right now, all she wanted was numbers.
Set. Octogram. All layers max rotation.
A blue sun shined down upon the amusement park. Beams of light at maximum output streaked forth to pierce the golden moon.
Take this!
Holding down the trigger, you continued to fire, taking an energy ad infinitum. Infinitum. Jeez.
Stupid Latin.
Yeah, stupid Latin.
For real though.
Yeah.
How come Mario language is based off of that? Blue flame shot forth at critical level, but the ice would neither melt nor mar. No amount of sheer heat could make a dent in something formed from such a colossal amount of magical energy. Pull on her circuits sent them berserk, and blood began to run free.
A spin should have been more than enough. He's just too strong.
The battle had become a tussle over the magical energy that filled the park. From the very beginning, this had been the Snark's home turf. The Snark had control over at least 80% of the space, while Akko had 20 at best.
No, I can't stop it. No.
The castle of ice descended as if to call the match.
Ah!
All she could do was delay the inevitable. She knew that she had been backed into a wall, and right now, the only thing she could do was to keep firing. Then again, perhaps not. There was another option. If she converted all of her magical energy into a defense, there was a tiny chance, no, not tiny, a great possibility, in fact, that she could save just her.
Shut up and do it already. Not even that ice has a chance against all the magical energy here.
Clinging into that broken hope, Akko continued to rotate her circuits. Time seemed to stop at the magical energy overdose. Second of intense pain lasted an eternity. Then, amidst everything,
Go for a darker read moving forward.
and oh, okay.
Huh?
Something approached one step at a time. Something from among the park's shadows. Something.
Wait.
She felt goosebumps from her head to toe. The issue was no longer the ice overhead. In the midst of this stillness, the Red Death drew closer, step by ominous step.
Why here? Why now?
Her circuits in her mind began to rapture out of terror.
Rupture.
Rapture. Rupture. Rapture. Rupture out
Oh
of
no, I'm
terror.
going up.
I'm all the way up. The composition of her formula and soul began to rip apart. There it was, just behind her. Footsteps came to a halt. It reached around and cupped her face in its blood-stained hands. Oh, that's actually kind of creepy.
Kanye, be the Red Death.
Greeting.
She wanted to scream out with all of her might. This is it. Nothing matters. It couldn't care less. Run or don't run. It doesn't matter. Quit hiding and reveal yourself. Use whatever you can and show no mercy. That was it. She had one final card to play. Once, a miracle had been gifted to her, almost as a joke. It made the ice look like child's play. That was what the Red Death had come to kill. Using it would spell ruin. Not using it would mean death by ice. Why hesitate? There were no conditions on its use. There was no price to pay for its power. She simply would cease to be herself. That was all. Humans loved to exist in areas of gray. Dozens of electrical impulses disconnect in the brain every minute. Nothing lasts forever, not even oneself. It was not anything particularly worthy of disdain. It was not even anything remarkably worthy of being called taboo.
Shut up.
What escaped her lips now was rage. Bewilderment from the red silhouette. Girl let out an inaudible scream. Would true magic truly been her savior? What an opportunistic load of bull. After all, to begin with, music goes hard, I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue how to do that shit yet.
Indeed. Akko was still in the dark when it came to that magic. Whatever it was.
I'm such a moron!
She woke from her momentary hallucination. The very illusion of her breaking soul had shown her. Whining had all the opposite effect on her. Her pride was now ablaze.
This is Sojiro. Kanye, go for it.
So, you gonna run from its responsibility too?
Sojiro was right. Her opponent had put her in check. But she had done the same to it. It was clear why she was losing. So now all she needed was a counterplan. Well within her abilities. No matter the odds, she was not one to give up without giving it one last shot.
That's right. Giving up only comes after you've tried absolutely everything.
Here comes Peak.
Her numbed fingers clenched into tight fists. She was betting against the house, an unreasonable gamble that should have made her question her sanity. If her first step was off by an inch, her body would be instantly vaporized. But she knew a boy who never fled. She knew of a steadfast courage that could shine its light, no matter how small, through any desperate situation. Yes, there's more than just herself to be concerned about. If that ice fell, it would mean the destruction of the park in its entirety. Everything he had achieved, everything he had risked and dared and happily put his life on the line for, would all be for naught.
Really? What possessed him to be so bullheaded?
Determination and confidence surged through her like electricity. She was in no mood to be crushed by a giant sheet of ice. If she was going to lose, she'd rather do so in the grandest firework possible. Akko was a sore loser, and at this point, she'd rather burn herself to cinders than let it decide her end.
Alright, let's have Kanye do the narration now.
Change.
Kanye?
She grunted in pain.
There we go, thank
There
you.
we go.
Energy raged through her body. Her circuits were on the verge of disintegration. Inscribed upon her body, her magic crest was magecraft given physical form. It did not, however, stop with simply skin and flesh. It burrowed to the very marrow of her bones. A playful smile graced her lips. Her sense of reason had been turned upside down by the pain. That was only natural.
I can do this.
She had to praise her own body for holding out so long while pushed beyond its limits. The skull face noticed this abnormality. It finally recognized the challenge for dominance over the space. It laughed at the conceit it faced. Never did it expect the magician to challenge the great flat snark, lord of vessels over millennium, such an age of decline. She tried to catch her breath. She braced herself for the coming pain. She was going to smash that ice to pieces. Both had access to the same amount of magical energy. One of them was greatly outmatched, but
There was a difference in our output. If I'm losing because of the scale of energy absorption and the size of the barrel, then the solution's simple. All I need is to make the formula bigger. And me with it. Change tour plan!
the feedback would go beyond anything she had experienced to date. Quite simply, her decision went beyond recklessness. She had expanded both formulae to maximum size. The first layer would transform into a giant vortex, swallowing up the mist. The second layer would process it from one end and pump it into her, the barrel.
I was naive. Thinking I could do something cute like shoot it down. What I need to do is blast it to hell.
Primordial power answered to the spellcaster's conviction. It formed the pattern of a riding serpent. Voiceless magical power flew a banner of revolution. Now, look upon the earth, O vulnerable one. see now this pioneer, this first among trailblazers.
Honkai Star Rail?
Holy shit! She embodies a species that knows no fear, that renders not all manner of mystic and tradition.
I'm done borrowing from you, you lying boojum. If you really want it, I'm more than happy to give it all back.
For the newest magician commands the principles of consumption and extinction. An abhorrent bullet of light melted through the castle of light. Aberrant. The bullet held fast. Her control of magical energy was divine. 100,000 miles of veins equal to 2.5 times the circumference of the Earth hungrily drank the magical energy. The subsequent magical strike hurled straight up at the moon. No, 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 no! Death rose from the moon's surface. A cry of indignant terror echoed through the abandoned park. Reality was burned into the eyes of the creature of fantasy. To Aoko, its vain struggle was the taste of victory. Victory despite her absolute reckless use of magical energy. The energy scales had been tipped to their breaking point, but nevertheless in her favor.
To our plan. Blacklight Starbow! Tear it a new one!
Good work.
Look at that. Shatter, shatter, shatter.
Oh no.
His voice shattered.
No, we killed Kanye.
It was too good. It was too strong.
My mic was slowly just unplugging itself.
Got some immersion.
The skyscraper scattered into atomized dust. The island, its untainability extolled, had swallowed whole the despair of its many challengers. Long had it proudly eluded mankind's intellect. Yet now, azure mist bemoaned its demise. In the sky, the ice canopy crumbled. The snark hunting bullet jumped over the moon. Its throes of death sounded like the roaring sea, reverberating across this fairy tale land.
All right, let's take a real quick break over here since we've been at this for a little over
Oh, well
an
done,
hour.
everybody.
Yeah. So, Nick, how do you feel about the story since this is a small taste of what we've been having? And funnily enough, for Nancy and Eryn, when we first played, we got to see the slice of life part first. So
Right.
they were like surprised to see this level of like action. But for
Yeah.
you came in the heart of the action.
Right. So I will say, like jumping into the heart of action is so like I guess like if it would have more of an impact if I saw like the slice of life stuff prior. So I would be like, oh wow, these characters are like doing this stuff is like, whoa, holy crap. Meanwhile, I'm just like, like damn, this girl's stunting on some hoes. She's capable of this. All right, bet.
Yeah. That is the thing is for Aoko, she's supposed to be like a simple mage. So
Right.
that's why
Yeah,
like
she's very unpracticed for the most part.
and
Yeah,
so-
that I kind of was able to figure out like when she was having her, I guess not monologue, but like when she was like, you hear the narrations be like, for her, like this is going to be like quite a vast task for her to take up.
Yeah, like she's learned a lot of the basics from Alice, from what I gather, but like hasn't done a bunch of complicated stuff yet.
Right.
And this particular attack would be pretty much her go-to, and it's referenced across all the different Type Moon stories, where she's older, younger, so on and so forth. It's like it is her signature move, essentially. And this story kind of highlights that aspect of her personality. And you get to see a lot of her interesting personalities beforehand, and unfortunately, you're kind of seeing like that little prideful part of her only.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much prevalent throughout the entire story. But this is, I think,
Yeah,
one
before
of-
this, you saw her acting a lot more stoically towards other people, especially at school. Trying to pretend that she wasn't, like, flappable at all.
And now you see her as almost practically being a rebel, especially in the magic world. Because of just how simple all of her magecraft is comparatively to all the other mages in this universe.
Plus, also there was that thing in the prologue that popped up in the Red Death sequence in Silhouette too, with the cats.
To give you a little bit more,
yeah, you explain it.
To give you a little bit more context for Aoko herself, and for the Type Moon universe world, I had mentioned how like the definition of mage was important. The definition of a magician is equally as important. So in this world, mages are described as people who can kind of harness the mana and the ether in kind of like a formulaic way. So there's like some sort of like process and logic that is applied to it. Magicians, however, they are very, very rare in the sense that they can literally make miracles happen. And it has to do with them being able to, like, they call it the root of all sources. Most people who usually reach that root do some sort of world-defining thing. So there has only been 4, and Aoko was supposed to be destined to be the 5th magician.
Oh, okay.
And so when she was referring to that magic, she was referring to the root of all magic. And the Red Death is supposed to represent like that hurdle that she has to overcome to get
And
to
it's
that.
root as in like route and not like a tree root then.
Actually, like a tree root, like the root of all things.
Okay, because the text was saying route.
Yeah, I
No,
think
yeah, it's rude. Like
Right, this
ROOT.
translation.
Yeah, I think when they were talking about route, I think they were just talking about like her magic circus in this context.
Okay, so that's a different route.
So that's pretty much the reason why like a lot of this is very significant for Aoko, because she is overcoming a lot of things and she has a big mantle to put on. So she has a lot to prove to herself and to others as well. But anyway, what I'm going to go ahead and do is do a small break. We'll take about a 5 to 10. Let me go ahead and just turn off the fishing again. Boom, boom. All right. Now let's change up the narration. Eryn, I'll have you narrate now, and Kanye can be Aoko, and Nicky will be Sojiro if he shows up. I don't recall how often he shows back up, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Go ahead whenever you're ready, Eryn.
All right. Excuse me. The battle was over. The thick fog dissipated, and the shattered ice melted away before it hit the ground. A lethal bullet unseated the Night King from his throne, affording him no time to grieve his loss. The oil of the moon. The untouched, flat snark. The dreamscape that had begun with its resurrection ended with its demise, drawing a close to the nightmare. Oh, but what about that stupid egg?
Oh man, I guess I kind of went overboard.
Flat on her back, Aoko looked up at the night sky. She lay there perfectly still, not able to move a single finger. When she tried, Her whole body screamed out in agony. She was completely empty of magical energy, and her magic crest had come to a halt. She estimated that it would likely require a whole day to recover all her bodily functions. Sadly, all she could really do in that moment was take a breath. At least her chest was swelling with pride. She had gone toe-to-toe with a fairy tale monster and had emerged victorious. The battlefield conditions had favored her, it was true, but there was no denying that Alco had come a long way in the last 6 months.
Look or not, I owe Alice an apology. Once a ploy's been broken, it's gone forever.
Flat Snark would never again return to this world. It was an insanely rare item, so invaluable that it would have been impossible to price it for auction at the association in London. Alco had seen Alice's priceless treasure to oblivion. Needless to say, things had gotten more than a little out of hand.
Still,
They had both agreed to the fight, so Alice probably would not complain. Even if she was furious, she would never be so undignified as to show it. The second Alco relaxed, her fatigue finally caught up with her. She did everything in her power to fight off the overwhelming drowsiness. Aside from a few minor internal injuries, her body was miraculously unscathed. She felt like she could probably stand up and dust herself off after a bit of rest. The golden moon continued to burn in the night sky.
well, you are oil after all. You could probably burn 4.
Alco's bleary eyes went wide in astonishment. She was still unable to lift a finger.
Alright. The baker who found the snark disappeared along with it.
A quick pause. Nick, how familiar are you with Lewis Carroll's tales?
Not at all.
So, he made a lot of different kinds of like Mother Goose stories, and the Snark has its origins from the hunting of the Snark. And
Okay.
that's why this is what she's referencing. The hunting of the Snark is practically a nonsensical poem. And Type Moon has a weird way of interpreting like folklore and myths, and this is how they've actualized it in their story.
Okay.
And so the
That's
baker,
also why they're breadmen, I take it.
I guess I actually hadn't thought about that.
Oh. She sighed in resignation. Alco accepted that her final stand left her with only 10 seconds before she burned to ash too. Elsewhere, just a short moment prior, buffeted by strong winds atop the roller coaster, Sojiro gravely peered down at the ground. All he could muster was a single murmur. He could see Alco on top of some drawing on the ground, and
What in the world is that thing made of?
in the distance, there was something familiar in the direction of the ruined House of Mirrors. Sojiro's job, to throw Alco's hair from a great height, was complete. While not the most impressive of tasks, it was absolutely a matter of life or death. And to top it all off, just thinking about how he was going to get back down to the ground was making him dizzy. He had experienced more than enough trouble for one day.
Wait, but Oh, don't tell me this thing has a face too.
He was flustered as he stood atop the swaying bridge. Oh, so we're seeing it from his perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
A skull suddenly appeared in the sky above. On the ground, he could see a circling blue light with Alko Alzaki in the middle of it. And one more thing. From an angle that only Sojiro could see, a shadow stalked Alko while she challenged the moon. It was shaped like a person, missing the lower half of its body. Oh no, this guy.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez, what the heck
Not
is that
this
thing?
guy.
This is a mannequin / automaton that was trying to hunt Aoko and Sojiro before. This is the part
Oh, we're doing Five Nights at Freddy's. Come on.
The disembodied torso slowly clawed its way toward Aoko. They were still over 600 feet apart. Unfortunately for Alko, she completely failed to notice it approaching from behind.
Too far away to make it out. But isn't that...
He was sure of what it was now. There
Found
was
it,
only
Titan.
one thing in the park that would chase Alko and not him. The puppet.
But, I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, right?
His mind ran in circles. It was a perfectly reasonable reaction. Any grip on reality he might have had left was long lost when Alko started firing beams of light at the monstrous moon. Whoa!
Whoa!
Sorry, that was me.
Yeah, okay. Who's to say they both didn't say it?
Yeah, exactly. Alko's merciless fire buffeted the roller coaster like a storm. Just standing on it was almost enough for him to be thrown off and killed. At any rate, Sojiro couldn't fathom the situation. Should he head back to the entrance of the roller coaster and warn Alko about the incoming threat? No, there was no way he would make it in time. And to make matters worse, there was a hoard of bread down there waiting for him. And it may very well have been the case that Alko was already aware of the puppet and would take it out as soon as it got closer. If she was, Sojiro was sure he would only be in the way.
But
It did not seem like there was anything he could do to help. And beyond that, Alko was not the only one in danger. He was in quite a predicament himself.
you can't go home again.
The road home was never as safe as one thought. It was as true here as it had been in the mountains. The path he was on was no exception. As risky as the ascent had been, it was even more dangerous to go back down. This was no time to be worrying about others. His shaking legs reminded him that only 200 feet separated him from his death.
I'll be fine. I know that. Just...
His head was pounding. This was reckless and stupid. Having been raised in the mountains, he was more sensitive to danger than anyone raised in the city. And just thinking about what he was about to do made his throat seize up. There was only one thing he could say for sure.
Azunaki has no idea that thing is coming for her.
With a sobbing shout, Sojiro started making his way down the 200-foot frame of the roller coaster. I mean, that's probably what it would sound like to run down that incline.
Yeah.
Right?
His race toward death accelerated.
Oh, that bar goes hard.
He never meant to speed up, but the downward slope propelled him forward.
Here I go!
It was too late for regrets. Now that he was running, he had no choice but to go even faster. And time was not on his side. He would never make it in time if he took the long way down, never mind the breadmen crowding the exit of the roller coaster. With the exits blocked, the outcome would be the same whether he went slowly or quickly. There was no reason to rush to his death as desperately as he did.
So what?
So what if it was futile? Sojiro cleared the doubts from his mind. He turned his attention to what he could do. Keep his footing and try to arrive at the bottom as quickly as he could.
Focus. Forget whether you'll be there in time to save her. The most important thing is...
He had no idea what impulses were driving his stiff limbs. He just focused on the moment, pushing past the fear and the cold logic. At his core, he was the kind of person to deal with problems head-on. There would be time to think about the consequences later. But hesitation was not his only obstacle.
Not now!
The worst possible hindrance appeared at a time when not focusing on the track would mean certain death. Sojiro sensed something wrong with the egg he had been so studiously observing out of one eye. Something had changed. And at the very moment he realized it,
Can't be looking to the side right now.
Sojiro stumbled, then instinctively caught himself. It was a miracle he had not fallen. Descending a roller coaster on foot was an act of suicide. The egg stayed right by his side, so close it was likely it would collide with him. Though he was trying not to look at it, he could not help but feel uneasy that the door-like decoration in its center was gradually opening.
Damn it. Why now?
He cursed his rotten situation. And yet he refused to slow down. He ran even faster, glaring at the egg on his side.
This is crazy. What's wrong with me?
Sojiro was baffled to find that he was smiling. Perhaps it had something to do with Alko's charm. Sojiro could not tell one way or the other. He could still feel Alko's fingers on his skin.
Creep.
The trust and expectation she had placed in him was etched in his heart. But what spurred him on was something entirely different. This all stemmed from a much deeper problem. It was something inside him that he could not understand at the time, but would eventually come to terms with one day.
Alright. There's less than 5 feet left.
He carefully judged the distance as he ran down the track of death. But the distance between what? That went without saying. It was the distance between himself and the one thing that could save his life. He told himself he was going to do it, over and over like a mantra. Sojiro could not believe himself. What he was about to do was incredibly stupid.
He's just like me, for real.
But what is stupid when smart is not an option?
I'm really going to do this. This is insane!
Amidst it all, he laughed at how pointless such self-reflection was now. Temporary confusion, a psychological thrill ride, both had laid his soul bare. What really mattered in life? The answer to that question was, oh no, the stream.
Oh no, the stream on our end froze.
Uh-oh.
No.
Oh,
That
it
one's-
froze?
There we go,
Oh,
there we go.
there it
back,
is.
we're back.
Well, no, there it is.
Oh, woo.
His primitive values did not crave success or reward.
Yeah, I see some frames dropping in the other computer. Uh-oh.
Yeah, the Twitch is loading for me. There we go.
Yeah, it's doing that. It's still dropping. Hold on. Okay, I think it stopped having a heart attack. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we're good, we good. F it, we ball.
Situation's too intense for Twitch.
I guess so. Whew.
All he wanted was...
This is it.
to live the way he wanted. It wasn't an obligation to the people around him. His desire to live his way was his and his alone.
Here we go.
If the egg had been equipped with a vocal function, it would have gasped in shock at what happened next. The boy, who had only tried to escape up until this point, suddenly shifted his weight.
Imagine if I just ended right here.
Cliffhanger!
He pointed his feet outward instead of inward. On the edge of one rail, he crouched ever so slightly to maintain momentum and gazed at the floating egg.
Close enough. I can do this. Leroy!
Easy timing.
He soared through the night sky.
Look at that shot.
It was a flight that lasted a mere 1.5
never.
seconds. A cordless bungee jump from 100 feet above the ground. His destination? Eggtown.
I was going to say Tomato Town.
The only thing that would stop his fall, the giant flying egg.
Soldier and Fortnite win.
Yeah!
He shrieked, this time out of elation, as he desperately clung to the egg's surface. Just earlier, the cold-blooded witch had told him that without fear, the top of a building would feel no difference than a balance beam. This from the same witch who would have been left speechless had she witnessed this spectacle. It was one thing to be fearless, and another to be reckless. What the boy did next would give her a headache in the days to come.
I'm counting on you, egg!
Clinging to the egg, he shifted his gaze away from it. He felt the rapid descent. Sojiro, focusing his half-shut eyes on the ground, leaped off the egg once they were a few feet from the ground, then turned back to it, careful to re-establish eye contact. Something so unbelievable, though, to Sojiro. The elevator at the department store and the mysterious floating egg were both just moving objects, virtually indistinguishable from one another.
What a comparison to make.
Right? Alright. It didn't break. It's always a shame when the food goes to waste. Making the mother of all objects, Soldier.
He landed near the plaza. The shortcut that almost cost him his life had paid off. Sojiro took off running the second his feet touched the ground. The puppet after Aoko was the only thing on his mind. He paid no mind to the moonlight in the sky. Nor to the egg, which was furious about being used, and seconds away from self-destructing and blasting fragments all over the place.
Asukai!
This is Awazaki, by the way. I've been meaning to correct it. Yeah.
Awazaki.
All good. All good.
Awazaki!
Huh?
Aoko's dumbfounded expression spurred Sojiro on. The curse was complete. The empty egg began to sing its warning to let them know there was no escape.
Oh, jeez.
Shrapnel from the egg exploded through the air. The ode to Queen Alice that Alice had engraved into Dumpty quickly robbed him of his senses.
Okay. Was that it?
He snapped back to the task at hand and ran to Aoko, still lying on the ground. His legs moved as if they had a mind of their own, though he couldn't have stopped them anyway, since he could no longer feel them.
That's still him.
Don't you puppets... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Don't you puppets ever give up? I did my 5 nights, damn it!
Sucker.
Get wrecked. Get 360 no scoped.
The scrambled murder case. Piles of rubble became flowers of light blooming from the earth. The final curtain drew closed, and the defeated left the battleground. Had Alice Kuonji seen it happen, she would have been beside herself. The two had escaped by a hair's breadth. The only person in a position to witness that rare mutual destruction was the girl who had been saved from it. The boy who had never stopped running paid it no mind.
Whew. I thought you were a goner.
The safety of the girl in his arms meant infinitely more to him than the miraculous way in which he saved her.
And that's the end of that chapter. Well done, everyone.
Woo! Great job, guys. Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Well,
Let me go ahead and save that so we don't miss it.
Nothing has ever gone wrong on this stream. Never.
No, never.
Nothing.
Especially not anything related to the save function.
So yeah, I mean, I've already played through it before. Kanye has too, so we knew what was going to happen, but we're curious about both of your guys' opinions so far. Eryn, who's been here the whole way, and Nick, who's seen the peak of the action. What are your guys' thoughts so far?
That was very exciting.
That was a lot. That was a lot of fun. I kind of do like that we get to see it from both characters' perspectives. While all the bullcrap that she was doing with like charging the beam and firing it 3 different ways, and that, like, and all the while wow, I'm about to butcher his name. I'm just gonna call him S-Man. S-Man just like while all that was happening, running down a friggin' roller coaster while trying to defuse one of Dr. Eggman's robots.
Yeah, I was curious how they were going to bring the egg back into it since they had reached this big climax with Flat Snark. I was like, wait, what are they going to do with the rest of it then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the egg was there the whole time.
They wouldn't set that up to just let it fade away. And
Kinda
sure enough, they didn't.
Kind of interesting though that it was just like self-destructed, and it seems like that's kind of it, at least for now. And then it leaves all of like these spikes like from Evangelion just like sticking out of the ground.
They did say a curse had happened, so I do wonder if there's going to be
That's
more to that.
Yeah, the curse was that, if you recall from last week, Eryn, the curse was Dumpty attaching itself to Sojiro, and it would play like a song or something. So it was like, there was only 2 ways for it to activate. One, to get your eyes off of it, or for it to fully complete its curse, which was to incite like a little song inside of its body or something like that.
Okay, so it is just to explode then.
Pretty much.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's slightly anticlimactic then.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I think that was the whole point of Dumpty, we all know the Humpty Dumpty story, you know. He fell from the wall and cracked, but in this case, he exploded. He probably exploded a little bit sooner than normal then, because Sojiro practically used him in such a way that he didn't expect. He was like, you know what, forget it.
It was very smart of him to like use it as like a tool to help him against the puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, "If it, we ball."
Mm-hmm.
Even not knowing what's going on, he picks up on enough quick enough to figure through the situation.
Yeah, and I think what's great about the story is that they've maintained that consistency with Sojiro. Like, even prior, we've actually seen that. Eryn and Kanye would know, but this is a constant thing for Sojiro, which has been a very nice surprise, because prior, we've thought of Sojiro being like a himbo, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's also even more impressive with this visual novel is that it takes a lot for me personally to get like excited reading something or watching something like that, especially in such a flat format where you're reading text. But the music really played well. It was well timed.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the animations are so well done.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I do kind of like that. I love, especially love the art. Because like
Yeah.
I'm not a visual novel guy, at least not much of one. But if the art's good, I'm like, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah, and it's a lot more than you normally see in like a dating style visual novel where it's mainly just
Yeah.
the character sprites the whole time and maybe a CG
Right.
here and there.
yep.
It's
Yeah,
a
there's
lot more
that goes
dynamic.
into this.
I think the thing that's even more impressive is like, even for today's standard, this visual novel is impressive, but this visual novel actually was released in 2012, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. I remember when I tried to play it in its Japanese form and me struggling to read it. It was a little too much for my computer at the time to actually run it. And you can understand why. The way its animation is presented was very unorthodox at the time. So,
Huh.
I think,
Oh, it's very cool.
yeah, it's like even still to this day, it is still very, like, it is certainly a great way to kind of pull you into the story, and something that you'll see later on if you decide to stick with us, Nick, or if you just watch the future VODs. They really do play around with a lot of different camera angles that a lot of visual novels and dating sims don't do. Like instead of just always focusing on like the heads and the portraits of the characters, like you would see in dating sims, you'll like have an angle of the table, but you'll see the reflection of the characters in the table. It's like
Yeah, they really make great use of their like character portraits and models in ways that they're not normally designed to be.
mhm.
Yeah, I guess if there was like a lot visual novels like that were presented to me at like this game, like I would definitely be more willing to pick up some more for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely does make me more interested in like the whole type moon thing than I ever have been before.
Yeah.
I do have, I hate to say it, but this is probably one of the only visual novels from the Type Moon universe that has this amount of quality. There is a remake of Tsukihime that's coming out now. Or it should be out already, so it should be up to that standard now.
It's been out since last year.
That's true, that's true. I haven't played it.
Yeah, the official, well, no, Tsukihime remake's been out for like almost 2 years now.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was mainly that like old, outdated Tsukihime art style that always kind of put me off of it.
And I played the old version, and it didn't have any music, and it was a little rough to get through at the time because it also was especially because at the time of its release, it was more marketed as an actual dating sim, so there was a lot of, you can tell that the focus was more on the relationship of things for certain characters. I don't know how the new one is presented, but hopefully it's more presented in a way where you get to really enjoy its atmosphere. But I think Kanye knows that more than I do. Well,
Yeah,
I don't think I know he does.
Tsukihime remake is basically like Mihoyo, but it's more akin to like your usual visual novel, because while Mihoyo is just like it's sort of read like a storybook, or like a graphic novel.
Mhm.
Tsukihime remake still has elements of the original, where there are still choices to make. You can get a bad end, by the way. Like there are like more than 24 bad ends that you can get in a single route. More than half of them can lead to death.
Oh, jeez.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, I remember that from the original.
Mm-hmm.
Do love a game where the selling point is look at all the bad ends you can get, and I mean that clearly.
Because it adds more attention to a lot of the scenes that happen, and also gives more variety in what to do and certain things like that. Because each choice can lead up to the different routes to take within the remake.
Yeah, the only other game I could think of, at least off the top of the dome, that does it would be, and I played a little bit of this with a friend of mine. Long Live the Queen, I think it's called.
Yeah, I have the game. I haven't played it, but yeah, that is another good example. Coffee Talk technically is another visual novel, so you'll be participating in that,
Right.
Nicky.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait, dude. Like I'm actually so hyped to like get started with that though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep, and that is going to be soon. So, and I look forward to
Very soon.
working with you.